Okay, welcome to our TNS Experts Connect session. Today, we're going to be talking about Q2 goals, and we're going to reflect a little bit on Q1 goals and what happened and what went well and what didn't go so well, and what's happening in Q2 and what might happen in Q3. So I'm going to share with you my screen. I have, there's a presentation that I do, excuse me, every year. And let me open this here, this way. There we go. Which is about goals. And I usually do it at the beginning of the year. And we talk about the whole year goals and the year that passed. But it's occurred to us since Brittany and I meet with our mastermind group and we talk about our goals. We start the year with all of our yearly goals, and then we check in every quarter to see where we're at with reaching those goals. It occurred to us that it would be good to do a check-in, since we do it already for ourselves, to do it in this group so that we could bring you along and help you with accountability of reaching your goals. And so that's the purpose of this meeting. And Q2 is kind of tricky because we're starting to unwind, or we've already unwound from the enthusiasm we had in the first quarter when we set our goals and we know what we wanted to do for the year. In Q2, we realize that things are winding down. We don't have the that we had when we started off. Usually we've had a setback or two by this point, and there's a lot of questioning happening, I think, on an internal level. And for me personally, I tend to question a lot. Am I making the right decisions? Am I focusing my energy on what I'm supposed to be focusing my energy? Distractions seem more prevalent sometimes too, and it really takes a conscious effort for me to start saying no to things and to choose what are the things that I need to be working on at this time or in this quarter. And so it's hard, and I feel that when I have an accountability group or I'm speaking with people and I have a list and it's very clear to me what are the 2 or 3 things that are important to achieve that quarter, I can focus on those and let the rest go. So this is basically a lot of the questions that I asked, and then that handout that you have came from the Year Compass booklet. This is a free booklet that you can get online. It's it has about 14 pages, I believe. It's small, but they're all questions that you kind of ponder and sit with. And a lot of the questions that were asked in the handout that I gave you were inspired by some of the things that we read in this book. And so I definitely want to give Your Compass credit for that. So the reason we have a compass is because it's a device for determining direction. And like I was saying, the second quarter, it's very easy to get off on tangents and to start focusing on things that aren't really on the course or the plan that we had. And so we're nearing the end of Q2, and it's just really good to stop, put that compass out again, see where we are, and see if what needs to shift or change in our everyday activities and in our weekly activities so we can get back on course to where we wanted to be. And when we work with goals and we're setting a plan, we also want to remember that it's important to have perspective. And to have perspective, you kind of have to be able to look back and acknowledge and be okay with the things that didn't work and the mistakes that we made, or the things that we could have done better, and also know that we have all the tools that we need to get back on track and to continue in that pursuit of our goals. And intention is also very key, because if we're intent on being present and on achieving those goals, it's easier for us to say no to things and to really take care of the things that we have to take care of to reach those goals. So goal setters, I'm going to kind of skim through this, but goal setters are able to see the future and see the big picture and make the right decisions for that given moment in time so that you can, again, reach your goals in a way that's more effective and efficient instead of going 10,000 different ways and then trying to reach them all together at the same time. Setting goals is also linked with self-confidence, with motivation, and with having autonomy. And this is the main reason most of us became freelance editors. So I think once we know those goals, it really empowers us to have the kind of businesses that we want to have. And apparently, people who write down their goals are 33% more successful in achieving them. than those that don't write down their goals. So with that, and I'm going to bring over, let me bring over our, the page that I sent you. So this is a little booklet that Brittany and I are preparing about goals and reflections. And I believe we're on Q2 here. Okay, this one here. So are you ready to go to talk about this? Is this the page? Did you all receive these pages?
No.
No, Cassie. So these were down. You can download them on the website, but we can talk about them and I'll email them to you after the meeting.
I'd
Not the
appreciate it.
website.
Thank you.
Yeah, they were in the circle community, but we'll just talk about a couple of
Oh, I can go back then if they're in the circle and get them.
Circle in the post for the event. It's attached to the event post and it's a PDF. It's only 3 pages. The one that I'm sharing today is the longer version of it, but the one for this meeting is only 3 pages.
Then I can go get them.
Okay. And if not, let me know.
Okay.
But so in order to look forward and to see what we're doing right and what we want to be doing, it's good to look back and see what happened. And so let's talk about what the wisest decision, if you know what it is, that you made for your business in the first quarter. And for me, it was about, again, setting those goals early and looking at them and understanding which are the ones that I was going to reasonably achieve in quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4. And what's happened, because this is my 3rd or 4th year doing this, is that I learned to scale back and that less is more. I'm very much a doer and I'm very active and I have tons of ideas, but I know that also I don't have to do them all at the same time. And one of the key things about working with goals is to eliminate the things that are work in progress or to put those on the back burner, because those really slow me down and don't let me work on the things that I should be working on. So for me, it was that the wisest decision was really understanding what my goals were going to be for the year, keeping them to a smaller number and things that were more valuable or that were going to produce more income for my business and that were going to help me establish myself more as an editor and as a writer. Joyce, would you like to share?
Sure. I think one of the best things that I did so far this year was signing up for and applying to host a workshop at the Pittsburgh Book Festival, and that got approved. And so I got to give my first talk on editing. And like I posted in the community, and I told you, Linda, looking back, last year I went to the festival still looking for my first job, and now I have a year's worth of experience. And there were a couple of wannabe editors there that said that was exactly what they were hoping it would be. And because that was the exact talk I would have loved to have a couple of years ago. And I got to give them more resources. And I had a Zoom call the other day with one of them as well. So that was a lot of fun. And I think it was pretty good.
So when you decided, Joyce, to apply for that, to be able to give that presentation in Q1, was this something that you had thought about for a while? Was it something, can you tell us a little bit about what you thought would help or why you needed to do this?
So I went to the book festival last year and they have workshops going on all day long. And when the email came through saying that they're planning for this year and sign up here if you want to have an author table to sell your books, sign up here to put on workshops. I was looking, I'm like, I don't remember there being any editing talks last year, because they're like, anyone in the publishing business, if you know something, give a talk. And so I'm like, I'll probably get it if I apply to do an editing talk. And I just felt like that was something that was missing from the festival last year and would be really good and valuable to give this year.
Great. And then for you, like now that you have this experience in your, toolbox, and you know that you were able to do it, you were able to prepare the presentation, you were able to go in front of a group of people and really stretch that comfort zone and talk about what you know. Do you feel that this will open the door or be easier for you to do other presentations or to apply for other presentations?
Yeah, I think so. My in-person college, I had a strange teacher that made us do 1 or 2 presentations every class. I had him for like 4 classes in a row. So before I took my public speaking class, I already did 7 presentations.
Okay.
So I wasn't a fan of public speaking before that, but I got pretty good with that. And so it's been a couple years. So last minute nerves kicked in right before I gave the presentation, but it went really well. And my one author, she said she's working on a class for helping new writers go through the writing process and publishing their book. And we talked about I can do an editing class with her for one of those sessions.
Yeah, like a
Oh, that's good.
collaboration.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, excellent, excellent. And then I'm just going to quickly add to your comment about, last minute nerves kicked in, because I think that happens to everyone. And I submitted to present at ACES. No, I was invited to present at the Ask the Experts table at ACES 2024 this year. And there, I walked into the room and there were about 10 editors, very well-known editors, of which one of them was Aaron Cervais. Carrie Yin was there. There were some really well-known editors on this. They had us all sit down together in a line at the front of the room. And I just remember nerves kicking in and being like, why am I sitting here next to all these very experienced and very well-known editors? And I started getting a little bit of anxiety, and then I kind of like checked in with myself and I said, okay, what am I feeling? What are my symptoms? Okay, my heart's racing. I'm feeling that I'm breathing faster. And I'm like, okay, I can breathe. I can slow my heart rate down. I can slow my breathing down. And then I thought, what have I been asked to do here? And the only thing I've been asked to do is to talk about networking. I haven't been asked to talk about proofreading. I haven't been asked to talk about AI. I've only been asked to talk about what I know about. And that's great, because that's what I know. And I don't have to say anything else that's not related to networking. And that really put things in perspective. It made me realize I'm totally fine. This will be fine. It's going to be okay. And it was great. It was a really interesting table with a lot of people that came with networking questions. But I felt like understanding what's my role in the situation is so much, it's so much better, because you know that you're prepared, you know that you know your material, and that you're not going to be asked strange questions, because you know everything that you're going to be presenting on. So I think that's a really good experience for you to have, and to keep, now that you've done this, it'll be a good place to keep drawing back to, for the next presentation and the next presentation, because you've already done this. Yes. How about for you? Anything about the wisest decision for the first quarter of the year that you made for your business?
Actually, what I did was I decided this year to focus on the technical aspect and learn as much as I could about AI, because I had read all the horror stories. I had heard how it's going to take everybody's business away, that everybody was going to start using it. And I wanted to find out, okay, what's fact and what's fiction.
Good. And you're an educator too, correct? You used to
I
be...
was an educator for a long time.
Right.
And I know around Colorado Springs, they're starting to use it in elementary school. And they're starting to use it in high school. They've used it in college, which is what I taught, college English, for a long time. Like Turnitin.com is AI. So they've used it for a long time. But I had the sky is heard sky is falling, gloom and doom.
Yes, yes.
And I wanted to find out, okay, I mean, Grammarly is AI.
Yeah.
And a lot of people use Grammarly, and a lot of editors talk about Grammarly.
Yeah.
That I wanted to see. So I took a couple of free classes from Aaron.
Right.
I'm gonna do another question and answer in June about what do you tell your bosses or your clients if you're going to use AI? That's fascinating to me because I know it's the future. I
Mhm.
took Women in Publishing,
Mhm.
had several webinars on AI and the movers and shakers in the field about, and it's research. Let it do your research. But as far as letting it do your writing, no, that's where you draw the line.
Mhm.
So I've learned a lot.
Great.
And I would love to take Erin's class. Unfortunately, financially, I can't afford to right now.
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. I know there's so many classes too that are like high level classes that I'd like to take that it's just not in my budget. And then we'll get to that too. And so, but have you realized you decided, Cassie, then to focus on building your technical skills for
Yes,
your business? And then
yes.
what has been the outcome of that? What is like having taken these classes and now you knowing about this? I'm assuming that it's probably built also a sense of confidence. It's built that you're on the right track. Like, how has that
Yeah.
affected the way you're approaching work now?
Yeah. I mean, I'm learning, Chat GPT 4.0, which kind of chatbots to use that are free. Erin says, no, use the professional version. Um, I'm learning how to ask the questions
Yeah.
of AI where you're going to I'm learning to let it do the research, let it compare what's out there. I'm learning how to use it in preparation for future blog posts.
Mhm.
So I've learned an awful lot. As far as putting it in practice, haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
Another thing that I did, thanks to you guys, is joining the networking community. I
Perfect.
mean, I love that. It's a chance to actually talk to other people in the biz who are potentially going through or experiencing or learning the same things.
Yeah. And it's a healthy community too. I really
Yes.
like that it's a very optimistic, it's a positive,
Mhm.
it's a very supportive community. So yeah, I agree.
Yes. And then
Great.
the third thing I decided was I love editing children's books, but the focus is too narrow. And I know that, but are you going to make the big bucks? No, but you really get the opportunity to work on some phenomenal projects.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I decided this beginning of the year, actually, Brittany and I have talked about it, that another one of my loves is, cookbooks and craft
Mhm.
books.
Yeah.
So I did my research, actually made the connection on LinkedIn for a contact at Story Publishing.
Great.
I asked her, okay, I've done this. Who do I contact to send my resume? I did, as well as my list of children's books I've edited, list of craft books I've edited, and list of cookbooks I've edited to her. She shared it with the editor she works with, and I have my first project in a couple of weeks.
Excellent. That's great. That's
Well,
so
come on, Linda, I've got chutzpah. I'm not afraid to ask any question,
yeah. But what I like,
but, you
yeah,
know,
what I like about what you're saying is that not only did you reach out in a very targeted way to an organization that you wanted to work with, but you also showed how you're going to bring value to that work
mhm,
because of you were listing. A lot of people forget that's a great idea. I don't do that actually specifically but like what a great idea to list the detail in detail. These are all the cookbooks I've done. These are all the children's books I've done, just to really set yourself apart from other editors. And
well,
so,
and when the editor who reached out to me, first thing she said is, wow, I was really impressed by the list of titles you shared.
I love that idea. I'm gonna start incorporating that as well. That sounds really,
And
really
I've worked with story, I hate to say this, 14 years ago. I got to edit um, craft books, like the Sweater Chop Shop, So Craft. I
Yeah.
also got to edit a lot of raising animal books with them. I got to edit, I believe, a cookbook with them. And then I wonder, and I'm looking back because I went back through my file of, work I've done with them, wondering now, well, what made me decide, right,
Mhm.
to leave, or which is what happens a lot. They get a lot of people, certain project editors move on. They don't
Exactly.
share your information. You
Yeah.
get lost in the dust.
Yes, yeah. And you have to keep at it. You just can't assume that they're gonna
Yeah,
remember you, for sure.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Great. So let's keep going then. So I think, so question two, the biggest lesson I learned was, and I don't know if you want to each add to that, but I think from what I'm taking away is like, Joyce, you've learned that you can do this, that this is within your power to be giving presentations, and that you can keep doing that as a source to get more visibility, more credibility in the industry, more clients, of course. And Cassie, it seems like for you too, you've gotten ahead of the curve, or you're on the curve learning about AI and how you can use this as a tool to work for you instead
Right,
of a tool that we're fighting against. So I
right.
like that. What about risks? Because we talk a lot about, what risk, what's tolerable, what's not tolerable, what are the things I don't want to do. Um, for me, the biggest work risk I took, I think, in the first quarter was setting time aside to really focus on finishing my book Networking for Writers and declining client work, or asking, I think, two things: setting time aside and really carving that time out of my schedule just to focus on that, but also then asking clients or telling clients that I was not going to be able to meet a deadline if we knew ahead of time. Like if they came to me, I had one big client that came to me and said, here's, this is the manuscript, this is the work that we need it in 3 weeks. And instead of saying, okay, sure, I'll make it, it was saying, this sounds great, I can definitely do this, I'm going to need 2 more weeks because of XYZ. And just having that risk of being like, okay, is this client going to go with someone else, or am I going to lose them? And the client coming back and saying, okay, that sounds, it's not ideal, but that sounds fine, we can do that, don't worry. And then all of a sudden being able to have two things on finishing my book and having this work right after it lined up. So it was a risk in a sense that a lot of times I'm afraid that the client might not be as flexible, or that they'll find someone else who could, and sometimes that happens, but at least I was able to complete a very big project for myself. So the payoff was I finished the book and I was able to get that into print and get all of that, the publishing aspect, taking care of it. But at the same time, the client was never upset, and I was still able to do that work. And the Linda of 4 or 5 years ago would have not have done that. The Linda 4 or 5 years ago would have put her personal project aside, would have taken the client's project, and then would have never finished the other one. So setting those priorities and taking, and I think the risk is mostly with myself, just telling myself that it's too risky, that I shouldn't do it. And the client has nothing to do with it sometimes. So it's more of what I'm bringing mentally to the table. So how about for both of you, Joyce or Cassie, what was the biggest risk that maybe you took this year, or in the first quarter?
To keep going, even though, there has been a major dry spell. I don't know what happened.
Mhm.
I've been ghosted by 3 authors, never had that happen before. To ask the question, okay, so really what's going on here?
Mhm. Mhm.
And to say, okay, the easiest thing was say, okay, fine, I'm done, I'm giving up.
Yeah.
Well, that's not Cassie Armstrong. Cassie Armstrong does not give up.
Mhm.
I figured out, okay, this, this is giving me the opportunity to, yeah, I would love the work, but you can't go out there and, yeah, you can, I do the contact like once a month with clients I've worked with before, but if they're not getting back to you, okay, then you go plan B. And
Yeah,
you do not sit there and go, oh my God, what's wrong with me? No,
not
this is what
exactly.
happens.
Yeah,
This is why you have either alternate niches, alternate interests, whether you really, I'm a lifetime learner. So I'm always interested, and it probably comes from the teaching. I'm always interested in learning something new. So yeah, I mean, there were times that, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then I went, okay, well, let's go and actually this is an opportunity. You're going to keep turning over those rocks,
Mhm.
but it's also an opportunity to learn something new. Plus, I added coaching writing to my services, and I've had last year as well as this year 3 children's authors that I've had the opportunity to coach. I love that. And I'd love to do more. I looked into Jenny Nash's book coaching program. It's really cool, but again, financially,
Yeah.
it's a little pricey.
But I think, there's a lot of things too that I'm a lifelong learner too, and I live on books. So I'm self-taught for most things. So I'm constantly reading. I think there's other alternatives too to coaching. And I remember because I checked out all the coaching books in the library
Mhm,
and I skimmed through them. I'm like, okay, what are the chapters that I need to read from each of these books, and which are the ones that apply, and which are the ones that don't
mhm,
really serve me. So
mhm.
I feel that there's a lot of material in the libraries and the universities.
Well, I read, Jenny had on her website, 2 free downloads, right?
Mhm.
So I read it and
I'm so
the
sorry. I have to cut in real quick. I have to go.
Go, no problem, Joyce. It was good seeing you. It was
Good
good
seeing
seeing you.
you
I'll see
all.
you soon
And that
too.
all sounds really amazing, Cassie. I'm really proud of you.
oh yeah, thank you.
You're
I'll
welcome.
be in touch soon, Joyce. Thanks. Have a
Okay.
good call. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, but as a teacher, come on. It's really easy for me to work with an author and say to them, how can I help you first?
Yes.
What are your goals? Let's talk about how you're going, let's try to figure out what are the most important things you need to do. Check in with them periodically. Don't, appreciate that they're going to try to build that wall, but
Yeah.
don't let them build that wall.
Yeah, for sure. No, for sure. And then, something that's helped me too is for the first client that I coached many years ago, I would create follow-up notes and I
Yeah,
would create. And so then I decided I extracted those, like all the like kind of action items or homework that I would give them. I extracted that. And now I have like a document that I use as a template and tell authors that I'm going to coach, okay, these are the things that we could talk about. And it'll be like a list of topics. Which are the ones that you feel are important? I'm going to tell you which are the ones that I think are important for you.
right.
And then we can pick from there so that every session is customized, but at the same time, they know going into every session, this is what we're going to talk about today.
I
And
need to do that.
yeah, and I feel it's really, really helpful. And always with the flexibility, knowing that if we decided, I don't know, to talk about trim sizes and interior book formatting, then okay, that if something else is urgent and they need to talk about metadata, okay, we can talk about trims later. Let's talk about metadata, like always with that
Right,
flexibility. But it gives, I feel, the client an idea, okay, today this is what we're going to accomplish, and we've accomplished it.
right.
And then I usually leave them with 1 or 2 YouTube videos that they can watch or a blog post that they can read related to that topic if they want to kind of get more closure on the whole thing, because
Yeah, I really need to do this.
yeah,
Thank
because
you.
there's only so much you can accomplish in an
Yeah.
hour sometimes. And being able, I feel just giving them some links and some supplemental material then makes that hour 2 or 3 hours. Because
Right.
there's 2 more hours that they can do in their own time. So I think that's really helpful.
And then,
Yeah.
yeah, walking them through it and listening to the excuses, but turning it around and saying, okay, this is well and good, but how can you make this happen?
Yeah, and then again, going back to like, goals that are achievable, goals that are important right now, not that are important, 6 months from now. So yeah,
Yeah,
be trimming it down to what needs to be focused on for sure.
yeah.
So maybe so work-wise, let's see, what I'm most proud of. I feel that that's kind of related to the risks that I took. So being able, I'm most proud of being able to prioritize work that was important to me personally,
Right.
and to set some boundaries with clients or ask for longer turnaround times.
Because that takes, because you're always afraid that what's the worst thing that can happen? They can say no. And then you have to figure out, okay, are you going to basically what's more important for you? Do you seriously need the project? Or in your case, is writing that book and getting that book out there more, and because another project will come your way?
Always, always something else will always get in the way. So yeah, being able to establish those priorities for sure.
Yeah.
So I think that for me, that's what I'm most proud of. How about for you?
Actually, having the chutzpah to reach out to Story, and because seriously, it's been 14 years since I worked with them.
That's amazing.
And thinking, and now I have to quiet the little voices. Oh my God, can I really do this?
Yeah.
But because of reaching out, the project editor that I'm working with, she has already expanded the turnaround time from 2 weeks to 3 weeks. Because of, and and I didn't ask for it. All I asked her was, how long's your turnaround? Because I'm finding that it's getting shorter and shorter and shorter.
Yeah, yeah. And then it's interesting because like for me, the turnaround, I got contacted last week for a very quick turnaround on just a 1-page translation of metadata. And they sent it to me last Friday to ask me if I was available, and they needed it back by this Friday. So it was like 1 week. Yeah. And I knew it wasn't difficult. The pay rate was fine. And I said, sure, I can do this. It's not a problem because it was an easy job for me. So I completed it on Tuesday, and it only took me about an hour and a half. I sent it back, and I got an out of office message that this person was on vacation until the following week. So then, I thought, why was there a rush to turn it on Friday? Like it's that again, it teaches me that they will give me dates that they need, they need to play it safe as well. But it's okay for me to also ask for more time if I need more time.
Well, in the British publisher children's that I'm working with for children's books, they again have gotten shorter and shorter with their turnarounds. And then they will send it to me potentially on a Friday and want it back on Monday.
No.
And I said, no.
Yeah.
Can I have, and I asked for, and some of them will say, no, I'm sorry, we can't do that. But it's all, and I have learned, as you did, that it's always because it's something on their end.
Yeah.
It's not on my end, because if I can do it, I will do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes, not that I'm against working on weekends when it's absolutely necessary, because I understand some projects do require, sometimes you have to go, but it has to be the exception.
Right.
And not the rule. So
right.
I think that's the biggest thing. Sorry, I thought I heard a noise. Okay. Let's talk about things that we were not able to accomplish. And things that what we've discovered about ourselves. So for us, and I work in collaboration with Brittany. And so a lot of things that we do for the networking studio, we have this list of projects that we want to complete and have ready by the end of the year. And so we work together. So a lot of times I'll write something, Brittany has to review it, or she writes something, I have to review it. And we do this back and forth. And we have a new project. I don't know if she's mentioned it to you, called the Conference Notebook, which is a notebook that we've created that you can take to conferences to keep track of all of your conferences in one notebook. So
That's cool.
It's a beautiful notebook. We're so excited. And it's just been a project that has taken forever because we're working on a budget. And so we
Yeah.
have to work with someone who's laying it out, who's in another country, and their turnaround times are slow. They're not available on the phone. And so this has been, one of those things where we hoped to have it ready by last March for the Women in Publishing Summit. And then here we are, May 30th, and it's still not ready. We still have to finish reviewing it. And so that was something that I thought would be a breeze to accomplish, but I had not factored in working with other people outside of Brittany and myself, and having to work with those timelines, and then having to work with a budget that we have too.
And
So
you have to realize, right, that there are just going to be some things that are totally out of your control.
yes.
And the gnashing of teeth and the ringing, oh my God, oh my God.
Yeah,
You
no,
just have to go, all right,
yeah,
I'm doing the best I
it's not
can.
gonna happen. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So at the end of the day, okay, wasn't able to accomplish that. What repercussions has it had? None, really, other
Yeah.
than frustration. Or
Yeah.
maybe missed sales at conferences that we could have been at. Now, do we still have the opportunity to have those sales at other conferences, or to keep it? Absolutely. And so
Yeah.
it was knowing like, okay, this is something that now I can let go of it. It's out of my control. It goes into this like holding pen of
Yeah.
it dealt with and completed when it gets completed, but I can keep focusing on the other things. So is there
Yeah.
anything for you that you would like to talk about? I know that this is kind of a personal question, so you don't feel compelled to answer, but anything that you weren't able to accomplish that you wanted to for the first quarter?
Actually, the three projects that where I was ghosted,
Mm-hmm.
where I knew, I was told basically it's a done deal. I was told by one of the people that they actually put the check in the mail. They hadn't. I was told by somebody else that they really wanted me to help them. And then they started giving me all the excuses on why they couldn't, because they had so many other things in the fire. And then I was actually met face to face someone who really wanted me to help them with their project goal, right?
Yeah.
So coach them on their project goal, and then tell me that, and then ghost me, never got back to me after telling me that they were going to get back to me.
Yeah.
It never ever happens. Even after I reached out, and I reached out to all three of them, and ultimately it's okay. You
I
did what you can
wonder,
do.
yeah, let me ask you this. Where did these clients or potential clients come from? Like, was it from a website? Was it from an organization? How did they find you?
Two were referrals, and
From other
they
editors or from other writers?
from acquisition, the publishing company is Morgan James, and it's a Christian publishing company, kind of not quite a vanity press, but
Okay.
close. And I've worked with the acquisition manager. He's been sending referrals to me for children's books. So it's been great. I've gotten to work with some wonderful authors. And I worked with him when I was working for another uh, uh, editing company, Split Seed Media. So I've known him. He likes what I do. So he keeps, they don't,
Sending, yeah,
yeah. And
okay,
one
interesting.
person, the older lady, was here in Colorado Springs at the Broadmoor because they were doing a presentation for the nonprofit that she
Yeah.
has. I was sick. I could not. I told her, I'm not going to go and share my germs with you so you
Yeah.
could share them with your daughter and
Yeah.
share them with everybody else.
Yeah, no, for sure. Let me ask you, so one of the clauses, and I learned this from Louise Harnby, that anybody that wants to work with her has to book a space on her calendar, and she requires a deposit. And so that's after I learned that from her, I was really afraid of implementing that because I thought it was going to limit the people that would want to work with me. But instead, what's happened is that the people that want to work with me don't even blink an eye in paying the deposit, and they book a space on my calendar, and we can move that space if we need to, and with enough advance notice. But it's a big, like, I think right now I'm charging $250
Wow.
if they want to work with me. Like, I'll send them a proposal, like they'll have everything, they'll know. I do require to be paid in full before I start a project too. Not with publishers, of course, but with private clients. And so by them booking that space in my calendar, and that is a non-refundable deposit. So they have, if they've decided they're booking me, I don't know, for June 6th, and I will reach out to them today and I'll say like, hey, just a reminder, like in 1 week, I need the manuscript. If they reach out to me in enough time, they're like, you know what, can I have 1 more week? Great. But if they kind of ghost me, that, there's no, that that does not get refunded. It's paid. And at least I haven't lost, too many days of work.
I have always asked for a like 50% deposit. I have thought about, and I always tell them I need at least a week up front before you're going to send this project to me. I have never asked them for a deposit before, if they want to work with me. So I may actually start doing that.
Yeah, you can do that because I think, I would say I get a lot of referrals, and about the amount of referrals that I get, 30%, 40% don't pan out. And I know that usually going in, that these are not the clients for me, and I'm not a good fit for them. And so I'll be very clear, this is, these are the things that need to happen. This is why, blah, blah, blah. And if I see they're on the fence, that's totally fine, but these are my terms. And I would say 30 to 40% don't return. And that's okay. Because, usually it's not someone then that I probably wanted to work, or we weren't a good fit for each other. But it also frees up the space in my calendar so that I can take on the projects of people that do want to work with me. So I think, it's not good to be ghosted. And at the same time, I think some of the filters that we can put into place are worth trying out and to see what happens.
Yeah, I like that idea. And it's kind of like you can come off 2 ways. You can come off as someone who is, number one, extremely busy, which I know you are, or number two, well, gee, you really feel good about yourself. Of course, this is what we have to do to actually get on your calendar. Well, who are you?
Exactly. Here's another thing that really tells me immediately if this person is going to book me or not, is that I have a form. When they contact me through the website, I have like 10 questions that I ask. I don't expect publishers to answer the form. And usually I have a little thing that says, if you're a publisher, you can email me directly here. But if you're not, when someone just gives me their name and tells me if they want to talk to me, and they don't respond to any of the questions that I've asked, like, what's your word count? What's your budget? When do you want to be published by? Are you going to, like, when I get those submissions with no information, I know off the bat, this person is probably not going to be a good fit because they're not organized. They don't know their work well enough, and they don't know what they want. So I
usually ask them, I always send an author questionnaire.
Exactly. And I think that author questionnaire, if they don't answer the whole author questionnaire, to me, that's already like kind of a red flag, like, okay, this is probably not 10 out.
Yeah.
And that's okay. But Joyce, welcome back.
Thank you. My other person didn't show up, so I decided to join you again.
Ooh.
Okay, great. Well, we were talking about what we weren't able to accomplish. And Cassie, remind me again so it was not being able to close those deals with those clients that,
Yeah.
Okay.
and
sure.
not blaming myself, which is what I have a tendency to do, and
Yeah.
looking at it as, okay, so ultimately it's what you always, what I ask my grandson as well as what I used to ask my students is, okay, so what did you learn from this?
Yes, yes, yeah. What is going to be that teachable moment? Totally.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is for you?
Um,
Was there anything you weren't able to accomplish that you thought you were going to be able to do, or that got in the way? And if it's too much of a personal question too, I was telling Cassie, you don't feel like you have to answer it.
yeah,
Also.
no. There is stuff. I'm not sure what, because I'm like you. I have ideas. I want to do a bunch of things, and I'm still sort of in the process of still setting up some of the stuff for my businesses. Some of that stuff still isn't set up. Like I
Yeah.
just changed my name, so I need to make sure that I have everything in order for that, even though that was happened at the beginning of the
No.
year. I need to set up a bank account.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things that I keep pushing off,
Pushing.
partly because like from the second week of January until into March, I
Mhm.
had back to back, back to back to back quick
Work.
turnaround projects.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. No, and that makes total sense. And here's something I want to share with both of you. So I've been reading a book recently called Personal Kanban. And I found this book through another book that I was reading called 4,000 Weeks that it's about. And I'm not saying that you have to read these books. I'm just sharing that I read them. I'm still reading the Personal Kanban. It was really good. And one of the things that I talk about, let me see if I can, I want to show you here. It's about the goal setting situation. So I'll share this screen with you because I think this one is, here we go. So when we're sharing goals or when we're setting goals and we're expecting to achieve them, these are 5 things that are recommended. Is that you write down your goals by order of importance. So I make usually a list of like for the quarter, okay, these are like the 10 goals. And then I'll be like, okay, then I'll have to like move them around. And I like to write it all on paper. So I'm constantly, scratching things, moving things, arrows and things. So then what are the ones that are more important and why? So is it money? Is it free time? Is it family life? What it is that's work related or that's going to affect a lot of my work related projects can affect or carve into my family time.
Yeah.
My husband travels a lot. And so I'm usually the kind of like the sole parent. And so, okay, what is reasonably going to fit in my schedule? Then self-commit. I'm like, okay, I can self-commit, but what does that mean to me to self-commit? Is it, I'm going to be at my desk for 2 straight hours? Is it everything else drops from the face of the earth and this is the only thing that I'm doing? Is it, what is going to is it okay that I'm 50% there or this is a project? Like I like to take on projects sometimes. And if there's not a rush, stretch them out over 2 or 3 weeks. So I work on them 1 or 2 hours a day. And it just feels like I can breathe. I can have a cup of coffee. I can and I come to the project with, I'm way more pleasant. My attitude is so much better when I'm working on those projects because I feel I have this generosity of time that I can really give of myself to this project because I have enough time, to accomplish it. But then I like to do this is being specific in my goal statement where I say, I will, maybe I will check all the proper nouns in the manuscript on Tuesday by doing, maybe I'll run proper nounalizer and I'll, add that to the style sheet. And that's down to the grain, specifically what I'm going to do for that project. Or I will, I tend to accumulate reading material. And so I will be like, okay, I will go through my reading list. I'm going to go through 1/3 of my reading list and just eliminate or go through it, the top 10 books or reading or newspapers or magazine articles. And then I will let go of all the rest. So specifically, what does that mean? So with each goal, once you have your list of goals, what is the specific activity you're going to do for that goal? Stretch for difficulty, make goals, a little bit challenging, but then attainable. Brittany and I talk about this a lot. Brittany is more on the shy side and Joyce, like giving a presentation can cause a lot of anxiety, but she's learned with time that if she just stretches herself a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more, every instance becomes easier. And what happened to us at the Atlanta Self-Publishing Conference a few weeks ago was that we were presenting on networking for writers. And when we got to the venue, it was an auditorium with a stage. And
Oh,
we have never presented on a stage. We've always presented in rooms, on Zoom, in a circle, you know, comfortable, casual spaces. And all of a sudden you had to be on a stage with a microphone, with a massive screen, with your presentation. And you kind of, the initial reactions go into crisis mode. Okay, I can't do this. This is scary, you know, and then we went back to like, okay, how can we break this down? Like, so we were discussing, like, can we sit on the stage so that it feels like more approachable? I mean, we don't have to be standing. Should we be together? Should we be separated? You know, should we walk amongst the people? Like, try to find like the different ways. Just because you're given something doesn't mean you have to do it that way. Can you work with what you have to make yourself comfortable? And Brittany did something really good. She walked away from the venue for about 45 minutes to go breathe, to go think, to go process, and then came back. And there was a podium and so she decided to stand behind the podium while giving the presentation, which was totally fine because she had a microphone. She was comfortable. She had the, you know, the slides that she could manage. And so it gave her something to focus on that wasn't just standing and being opened, you know, to 200 people in the auditorium. So stretch for difficulty when you can. And then I think this is something we forget a lot, is to ask for feedback and support. And, you know, work with others when setting your goals. Joyce, you're part of a mastermind group, I believe, as well. And just working with others is really helpful, I think, for, you know, setting those goals. And
that's another thing. That was my goal that I have not, when we went back to, you know, what are your goals for the year? Another one of the goals was to find a mastermind group. That's been a goal, and Brittany knows, for several years. I'm also a mentor for a part of the mentoring program for the Northwest Editors Guild. And one of my mentors, like Brittany was one of my mentors a long time ago. And what I'd like to do, right, is join a mastermind group.
Okay.
That's why, you poor people. That's why how I'm using the networking community. You guys are my mastermind group.
Absolutely. And we can definitely try to find you a group of people. So let me put some feelers out, because I know that we have some people that would like to be in a mastermind group for sure. And I already have two in mind that I'll reach out to.
Because I really like that. I really I know, you know, some of the movers and shakers in editing that are part of like KOK and
the quad,
Aaron Brenner and Amy Schneider and all those people are part, you know, and I'm always in awe because I really like it. There's no judging. It's okay, so what's the problem? So how are we going to figure out, or, you know, what could you potentially do, or have you thought about to make this happen?
It's invaluable, the mastermind groups. And Joyce, I'm sure you can attest to that too, that they're invaluable.
Yeah. We've been having troubles with scheduling lately, so we've just been, as we can, get on and just do some rosebud thorns, talking about what we have going on, and then just talk about our lives too. So
and that's good. And that sometimes you know, so with our mastermind groups, well, that we work with Kelly and Madeline, we've been meeting since 2019, and we've been meeting usually every 2 weeks. Now this year, like right after the holidays, there were so many complications with projects that Brittany and I were working on with the networking studio that we had to prioritize. Brittany was writing her book. I was finishing my book. Kelly had a lot of projects for a publisher she had been hired to do project management for. So all of a sudden we went like 3 months without meeting, like setting it up, canceling, setting it up, canceling the day before. And sometimes you have to allow for that. You have to let life get in the way.
Right.
Because if it's going to feel forced or a chore, you're not going to want to be there, and it's just not going to be productive.
Right.
But it's amazing the things that you can accomplish when you have a group that you're committed to meeting with, you know. every 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And again, one of the points that sometimes, you're not, and we talk about this in the book too, you're not expected to become friends with these people.
No.
You still have a friendly relationship, and some might develop into friendships. But a lot of the time, that's not the purpose of the group. It's there to be support, to be, help each other out. And there's a friendship component to it, or elements, I think, but that's not the full goal for sure. But
Well, you have to be cohesive, but at this, your colleagues, right? You're
yeah,
cohesive, but as far and as then you don't have to tell them everything too,
Yeah.
unless you want to, that is actually going on in your life.
and I think that's a
Mhm.
really great thing to state, like at the beginning when you're setting up a mastermind, that this is not a personal drop
Yeah.
space where like we need to know, like if you need to, we have a channel in Slack called Shouting into the Void.
I like it.
You just post whatever it is that you're dealing with and just get it out. And nobody's expected to respond. Most of us, we do respond every once in a while, like to something, but that's what that's there for. So and then, we're very different editors, all four of us, very different editors. We edit in different areas, our works. And so there are times where we will not agree on something. Like, Madeline will ask a question and that she'll have 3 different answers, and that she'll know why all 3. Or it's so important to be able to see that other side that somebody is experiencing. So I think the feedback of a mastermind group is really, really invaluable. I'm going to keep
And they
moving.
have ideas
Yeah, go ahead.
and knowledge that you don't have, because I just went to the American Horse Publications Conference, everyone in horse media, and I met the editor who I've messaged with back and forth on social media for the equestrian publishing house, and she's like, send me some sample edits, and I can then put you in our roster. I'm like, okay. I'm like, how do I send a sample? I'm like, what I'm thinking in my head is send literally what's already been published, send us part of that. I asked my mastermind, they're like, track changes is a thing. I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah, just a screenshot with track changes. Like
Yeah.
exactly. That's all. And as
Because
long
otherwise, then you've got to get everybody's permission, right?
yeah, no.
Yeah.
So I think that's all you need to do is that. And we do a screenshot or a PDF, so something that can't be altered, of course.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so let's keep going. So then we know our goals for the quarter. The next thing that we want to do is write down every day, what are the 3 things that I need to get accomplished? And when you're working with goals, it's really, even though you have a list or a to-do list, it's really interesting to know what's consequential. And that's how we set our priorities. So if I don't do this, what's going to happen? And some of those, that's when things start getting scary sometimes, because if I don't finish the copy edit, I'm not going to get paid, or it's going to take another day to get paid. If, I don't do this, then I'm not going to be able to go to soccer practice, or I'm going to have to sacrifice the weekend and get that project done. So what is the consequence of you not doing that action, or what is going to be the consequence of you doing that action? And so sorting by consequential is, I think, very important. And then you focus on each one with intention. And you might have a list of, 6 goals, but get the first 3. And once those 3 are out of the way, then you're left with the time to do the other ones that are on the list that were not a priority. And you'll usually find that time to do that. And then also, because life is life, there'll be other stuff that hits the fan during the day that was not planned and not part of the goal. And that's usually has to do with, personal life or family life. And so be prepared also for that. By setting only 3, if you're able to accomplish those 3, it's already a big step forward into like the long-term goals that you have. So that's kind of how I work with setting goals. Let me see the next screen here. Okay, so this is a book, and you've seen this book before.
Yeah.
It's still a really great book. It gets updated, I believe, if not every year, every 2 years. I just saw the latest version, and it's still relevant. It still has a lot of good information to help you move forward with goals. But the book that I was telling you about, which was the personal Kanban that I'm doing, and I'm going to show you here. I'm going to see if I can tilt my. So this is a new method of things that I'm doing, and basically you have 4 columns. So you have a ready column, a doing column, a today column, the pen, and done. And I have a list of post-it notes. They're all post-it notes of projects that I need to get accomplished in the quarter. And
Wow.
I get to choose from here. Okay, these are all of the projects. These are realistically the ones that are going to bring me more income, more joy, or are going to be closer to reaching my other goals, my quarterly goals. So these are the ones that I'm realistically able to work on. And I'm going to read you some of the things that are here, just so you get an idea of what I'm talking about. So the top one that I have is updating my website, breaking it, rearranging the information on there so that I have a section for writers and for editors.
Oh, yeah.
And then I go into some specific things, like I need to change the categories on my blog post. I need to do a couple of smaller things. So that's something that I can get done this week or in the next 2 weeks. So it's in my doing category, and it has a priority because now that I have a new book out that's for writers, if people go to my website, they'll see blog posts that are both for editors and for writers, and that can be kind of confusing. So now I'm in a situation where my business has kind of grown. I have a new product offering, so now I have to swap around the information so that it's clear and it's not confusing. And that's something I hadn't intended to do. I didn't think I was going to need to do this year when I started with my goals, but now with the book, I realized, okay, this is a new thing that I have to add to my list. So that's there. I want to write some more blog posts that are related, that are consequential to editors. I have to update my social media headers to include the new picture of my book. I want to do a sell sheet for the book. So these are things that I can do that are not going to be too time consuming. And once I decide which is the one that I'm going to focus on, like for today, this was here in my doing column. This one I moved for today, that I need to update my Amazon A+ content on one of the books. And that's a whole thing about marketing and keywords and SEO and things. But I'm probably also going to do update my social media headers, and then maybe I'll work on some of the website stuff. That's realistically all the things I can do today. Everything else, this is work in progress, and I don't have to focus on that, because if I chose to focus on one of these instead, then all of a sudden, these are not going to get done on the top.
Right.
So this stays in work in progress, and that doesn't move, because the work in progress is what limits us, according to this book, limits us or distracts us from the things that we actually have to get done. The work in progress kind of takes longer to get done, and so it's a distraction. So I have to focus on those are the 3 things that I can actually accomplish. Now, of these things, let's suppose that it's update my website, and I do the things, I change the categories on the blog post, I change a couple of things, but I still need my website designer to put on my landing page 2 buttons that say, because I don't know how to do this, that say for editors and for writers. So once I get to that point, and once I send that email to Carlos, this is going to go to the pen. That's the holding pen of work in progress, of something that's not completed, but that doesn't depend on me. I can't do anything until Carlos does that. So that goes to the pen, and it's off my list of things to do for today. And so now I can focus on either bringing something else in, or I can focus on getting these 2 done. But this stuff is not distracting me, which usually will. And these are the 2 things that I need to get done. And so hopefully by the end of the day, once I finish the Amazon A+ content, this goes here. So what makes this different from the to-do lists that we're used to doing is that here I have something tangible that I can see and that I can move around so there's a kind of a tactile thing component to it. I see it moving. I'm just not crossing it off a list. And if it's something that's just too big to do for myself, that I need to break it down to smaller tasks, I can do that. I can replace it with smaller tasks that are achievable and that I can move down the line as well. But the most important thing is that when we do usually a list, we're not considering that some of those things on the list are work in progress things that there's no way I'm going to finish them in the day. And they're not as consequential as some of the other goals. So this is a new method that I'm trying. So far, it's interesting. It's working. I like the idea of being able to step back and see everything and where everything's at. And what it's really done, perhaps the most, is that it's taking it off my chest and off my head and off that eternal preoccupation that it's always there because it's something I need to do. It's taken that all out of me, and it's now on a whiteboard that I can move around and manage. So I don't have to worry about it as much. So
And then when you're finished and with all the little blue stickies, do you
Mhm.
put them in an envelope to use at another time? Do you go, thank God, look what I've accomplished? Or do you rip them up and throw them away?
was thinking that I might just like burn them, like stack them all up in a little
Yeah.
pile and burn them at some point, but
Yeah.
I don't
Do
know.
you
I
let
haven't
all
gotten
that
to that.
energy just kind of dissipate
Yeah,
and
exactly.
just think of everything that's off your shoulders?
Yeah, yeah. I might actually put them in the compost bin. I think that
All
might
right.
be. I might decide to like repurpose them and give them a new meaning or a new,
All right.
and then yeah. But it's off my list, and so you're always going to be adding things, but
Yeah.
at the same time, you're going to be able to move things down the line as well. So if
Right.
that's something that you're interested in seeing, and then the yellow ones here are just stuff for the networking studio. So
Oh,
that's
okay.
well, and that's going to be one that's going to be interesting too, because there's a lot of things there. Like we were talking with Cassie earlier that I can't do on my own. Like I need Brittany's feedback on, or we have to talk to the accountant, or so that'll be interesting. So instead of having all of that stuff in my head or on my calendar with to-do lists, at least
Uh-huh.
here I have a visual. Okay, this is what has to happen, and this is
Uh-huh.
realistic or not. So, any questions about that or anything?
I think it's fascinating.
Yeah,
I
that's really cool. I like it.
I'm excited. I'll send you both a link to the book too if you want to take a
Okay.
look at it. It's an easy read.
Put something else on our to-do list.
Yeah.
I know, I know. Well, I made an effort last weekend we had really good weather, and Sunday I decided I was just gonna sit in the back. I got up at 6 a.m. I prepared myself. I drink this Argentine mate, green mate. And so I sat in the backyard, not at 6 a.m. I went in the backyard like at 8:30. And I just sat with a blanket, a pen, and the book and the mate, and no phone, nothing. And I just powered through the book, underlining and writing things down. And I read half of the book because I'm like, I want to get this done. And it was hard because there was a lot of other things I wanted to be doing on Sunday. But there was such a sense of accomplishment that,
Right.
and then I see, I immediately I started, getting post-it notes, writing down goals. So it was doable. And I think a lot of times we think like, oh, that's gonna be too much work, but it was doable. The book is good. I'm not thrilled about, I'm very critical of books. I'm not thrilled about how it's laid out.
Okay.
I feel it's self-published, or it's an indie publisher that could have used maybe a little bit of a professional book cover. What I do like is that the author includes photos, like he'd probably taken with his phone, of his board and the lists and things. So there's a lot of photos about exactly what his mess looks like. And I appreciate that because I feel we're always led to believe that we're not organized enough. We're not doing it for professionals, And so this was real to me. This was like, I could see that would be my list. That would be messy. That would be, scratches, things crossed off, additions. And so I felt it was very relatable, and I appreciate that. Again, I don't like the layout of the book. It feels like the text wrapping around the images is not done professionally, but for certain books like this, I'm willing to go that. But I feel had the interior layout been done better or professionally, this was a book that could cost twice as much, and you would have, paid for it comfortably because
Right.
so it's a nice book. But I'll share
And
it.
I have actually talked to independent authors about stuff like that. About, as part of your marketing ploy, okay, how much money in the budget do you have for formatting? Do
Yeah.
you have for actually working with a professional, either illustrator if you're writing a children's book, or a formatter? And seriously, that kind of stuff never even enters their minds.
It's amazing. It's amazing to me. And I'll share something else that happened this week. We had a meeting with a distributor who might in the near future pick up our books and distribute them in the US and maybe abroad. So this was an initial meeting. This is a person that we've been following for a long time. He's amazing. And he didn't remember from meeting us before at different conferences, but what he did say that he Googled us
Oh,
and he looked up our books and that he was incredibly impressed with how professional the books look and how well laid out they are. And I thought like, wow, you know, we're always thinking that writers or editors are looking at our books. But then here you have someone who's in charge of this massive distribution chain who's been looking, and when they went to look, this is what I always say, when they went to look for us, what they found was professional. And that just, again, that puts us ahead of everybody else standing in line.
Yep.
Because they know that we know what, you know, a target audience means. They know that we understand the market. They know that we've done like that. He said something about the book cover, and Brittany remembers it, but he said something about the book cover that was just like excellent. That was just so that it was a book cover. This would be a book that he could have picked up at a Barnes and Noble, or that he would expect to see because it's so beautifully done. So
wow.
I know. And so hearing that from them, you're like, oh my God, all that money we spent, all that time to hire, you know, to vet the professional designer, to do the interior layout, so it all pays off. And I would never want someone to talk about our book and be like, oh, the book is so poorly laid out. The captions are like all over the place. The text doesn't wrap around it. Like I would really be horrified if somebody, so people do pay attention to that, and it makes a difference. It really makes a difference for sure. So any closing thoughts? Because we're definitely over time, but anything else that you want to share, Joyce or Cassie, of how you're going to prepare or what you'd like to do before the end of the second quarter?
Well, I'm very much interested in looking at the book that you were just talking about.
Okay.
And in talking about a website, since I have added coaching to my website, and there's just like a little blurb, but I haven't separated it, right? And I need to do that because people who are looking for editors are not necessarily looking for writing coaches, right? And I also need to do that on blog posts. Okay, so am I writing blog posts for potential coaching clients, or am I writing blog posts for people seeking editors? And how are you going to distinguish that? So you've given me a lot to think about.
Excellent. Good. Yeah, it's I've given myself a lot to think about too. So it's sometimes I'm like, maybe I don't need to be thinking about this stuff so much. No, but it does serve, again, it serves ourselves, it serves our business, it you know, builds credibility, it sets you apart from other editors. So, and I know they're time-consuming things sometimes, but you only have to do it once, or once every 4 years, maybe. So I think that's the key of putting in the work so that you don't have to do it, you know, again later, or prove yourself later. So Joyce, how about for you? Any takeaways of what you want to finish working on for the second quarter?
Well, I think one of the main things is I want to work on getting better at writing goals and setting goals and not adding more goals after I do that.
Yeah.
Because
I wonder if you could have, like, if you have a notebook or somewhere of organizing it where you could write, if you already have a list of goals, and be like, okay, from this list, again, which are the ones that are inconsequential right now, and that I could still do next year. You know, like you were saying, opening the bank account, yes, important. Are you going to get more work or less work because you open the bank account? No. Is it going to be make it more difficult for your account? Probably. But how much, you know, this is I talked about this with my accountant once, because he was like, well, how much money are you making? I'm like, well, actually, you know what? He's like, how many transactions do you have per month? I'm like, well, really, it's maybe like 4 deposits and, you know, automatic charges, you know, for software, but it's not really. So at the end of the day, can you go off another year with, you know, not doing a new bank account? Probably. Maybe. Can you tag on opening the new bank account with a, you know, a trip to the grocery store, you know, and then you just do those 2 things. And then think about credit unions. I feel that credit unions are much more kinder and understanding of small businesses. And they have so many more like notary services, usually for free.
Well, my bank does too, but that's okay.
So yeah, and so I think like smaller banks are really supportive. And then honestly, I don't have a business account. I have an account under my name at a credit union that is only used for business. And that's something that our tax advisor told us last time when we had a meeting with the networking studio, was that it's okay. The important thing is that you keep things separate.
Yeah.
That you're not mixing your personal expenses. And so that's the only thing. So it's not like you need to set up, a paid bank account and have thousands of dollars in the bank to be a business. No.
Oh yeah.
I mean, yeah, that works for you. So, okay, bank accounts and what else?
What else do I need to do? I was hoping to have my book ready for beta readers before I went to Lexington. I just finished the first round of evaluating my first draft. I have my editor scheduled in for that in July. I don't remember. There's so much I'm trying to do just with everything.
Okay.
Can
okay,
you actually talk to your editor?
Yes.
Tell them, hey, life sometimes, life got in the way. I'm looking for better beta readers right now, which I always tell the authors I work with, good God, you need at least 2 or 3 of them. And then after you go through their, suggestions and either decide to incorporate them or dismiss them, then, and you can be looking for the editor or have the contract with the editor while you're reviewing the beta reading, but just, bless you, but just know that, and authors, well, Linda knows, authors experience this all the time. I have a children's author I've worked with, 2 of them, worked with before, that really wanted their second books in my hands right now. But one of them, her daughter graduated from high school. Another one is she's doing a phenomenal job of getting her children's book in the New York school system.
Wow.
But she is looking for a job, so teaching job, so she can actually afford to put the second book out there. And they've been honest with me about, we really love you, we really love working with you, but
This is,
and I just say, hey, just give me at least a week in advance.
yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Joyce, do you have enough beta readers?
I definitely have at least 3.
Oh, that's
If
good.
anyone else wants to come in.
So
And,
why don't you post about that in the circle space and say
Yeah.
that you have just
Yeah.
give a blurb about your manuscript, and if there's anybody that would be interested in reading it as a beta reader and giving you feedback, you definitely post about that.
Oh yeah.
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 Okay.
I'm getting there.
Good.
I also want to really work on time management and trying to figure that out, because with editing, starting that business, doing the editing, working on my first book this year, because why not? 2 horses and a day job. It's a lot to fit into the day.
Yeah.
So I
that
can't
tells
get it all
me-
done. So I
So
want
in that book, Time Management for Mortals, 4,000 Weeks, one of the examples he brings in the Stephen Covey example. About Stephen Covey was one of the first people that gave this example to a business class, where he was like, look at this jar, see these big rocks, see the smaller rocks, the pebbles, the sand, and the water. Okay, so what actually fits in the jar? And then the metaphor is that you're supposed to put the big rocks first, because those are like the values and the important things, and then you're supposed to put the smaller things and the pebbles. And the author, Oliver Burkeman, says that the problem with that metaphor, or the way it's explained, is that Stephen Covey only has 6 big rocks, and that in real life you have 40 rocks, and they're not even near getting into the jar or close to the jar.
Yeah.
And so how do the things that you just mentioned, those are all big rocks. Those are, some of those things have very big consequences if you don't do them. So again, what are the consequences? What's feasible? What's for your mental health, for your physical health? What can you get accomplished? And then do you need to stretch maybe sometimes? And not that I don't want you to work on your book, but maybe instead of bulking out, 4 hours at a time, is it 1 hour a day, but every single day, so that at the end of the week you have 7 hours done. So And we can talk about that more if you want. If you want to like schedule a call or something, we can talk about that to see what would be the better way, or it's
Yeah.
a way that might work for you at this point in time. So
Yeah,
sure.
I watched the webinar yesterday and I have some new ideas of what I want to do with my scheduling. Just
there's a really good
put
book
it on.
if you're able to check out from the library. I don't know why, because everybody that buys this book never gives it to the library. Like everybody holds on to it. And another book, not very well written, but it has, you know, and not very well put out there, but it has really good information. It's called The Miracle Morning.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I think that really changed my perspective as to how to set time apart for me and the projects, the things that were important for me, and taking care of myself first so that I can take care of everybody else afterwards and not feel the resentment that I feel, you know, when I'm taking care of everybody else and not the projects that I want to work on for myself. So that's a very fast read too. And I think if, you know, you can get maybe the audiobook, but I think that'll be pretty inspirational and it will have some like good tools that you can use.
Yeah. Yeah. I am proud because I did manage to get one chapter of the book that I'm working on edited this morning.
Oh, that's good.
I had a call this morning and that went longer than expected. And then meeting you guys, I like, I have like an hour. I know it's supposed to take about an hour to do this chapter,
But
I did it. So
excellent.
Yay.
Excellent. Yeah.
and that was all I wanted to do on that book today too. So I got that done.
You just proved yourself. That's awesome. That's really
Yeah.
Well, I will let you both get back to work. Thank you so much for being here today. I'll see you both hopefully on Circle, and we'll yeah, just post about, you know, if you're looking, Cassie, you want to post about a mastermind group there too?
Yeah.
I have 2 people that I think would be really great, that are in Circle, so I'll reach out to them. And we might do like a group chat or something, so maybe you'll find them there. Okay, thank you. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you, Linda.
Bye.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.